We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side. And I brought a real winner today for you.
Yes, you did.
Brian Watts. Or is it Captain Brian Watts?
Nope, just Brian Watts. No captain no more. It's been too many years.
Oh, yeah? Would you let it expire?
Let it go.
That background check's a killer.
Background check's badass and too many obligations. You got that right.
Yeah. Boy,
everybody thinks you're somebody when you're a captain.
Yeah, I know.
Are you a captain, Mike?
No.
Oh,
you know, the test I probably couldn't pass, but I'm thinking I'd go down to the courthouse, change my name. It'd be the easiest way to do it, and then I'd be a captain.
You'd be right in.
You know, in the Coast Guard.
Hey, all you got to do is just start calling yourself captain or put it in front of your name all the time.
Oh, no, Dave Marquette has straightened people out on that.
Papa's going to...
He ain't going to let that happen, not in his backyard. You know Marquette.
Yeah, I do.
You know, we were talking about being busy, and you have been busy. What's Power Pole going on? I love having you here because you're in tune with all them guys at Power Pole.
You know, hey, we got a lot of great things, and I can't really divulge in a bunch of the stuff. The good thing about it, all this COVID crap we've been going through, they finally, not necessarily Power Pole, but I think the state has really got it where we can start traveling in all these states that Greg and I go to. We can actually start getting out and promoting the products again at a lot of the bass tournaments, redfish tournaments. I do a lot of crappie tournaments. So, you know, that's gearing up real good. Our calendars are pretty full. So
now, do they tell you what to do, or do you get to tell them what tournaments you're going to?
Oh, no.
You get to pick and choose?
Look at here.
Yeah. I didn't know, being the Watts brothers.
Hey, you know, there's certain things that we have to get done, but Greg and I pretty much know the validated things that we have to go to where you really get it done.
How do you separate all the freshwater and saltwater stuff that's going on? Like, how do you determine where you should be? Or I know with you guys, you've grown so much, you probably have different groups that go out there and support those tournaments.
Well,
right?
we've got 5 or 6 people up in promotions that have a lot of numerous jobs. Some of them will do some things. Greg and I do some things, and it's been that way for several years. But I'll just say this about any event: it doesn't naturally. The more people you have there, the better the event.
Yep.
But all events are good. Some are just better than others. So, you know, when you get your name out there and you got great products like we have, and we stand behind them like we do, it's just getting your face and your name back in the public again. And you talk to so many people. It's all about relationships.
That's right.
And Greg and I work on those relationships very hard through the South anyway. And as far up to my crappie guys, it's kind of hard getting up to the walleye guys all the time.
Gets cold up there.
Gets cold up there, but, you know, we do our best. But, you know, we got a lot of great things coming there. You know, everybody, it ain't no secret. The troll motor.
Well, I'll tell you something that happened the other day. Tom's was in here. You know, my cousin's out there testing one for you. And you're going to find out he's the Karen of all Karens when it comes to what's wrong with it. If you want to know.
Hey, I pushed real hard for Tom to get one because he's a lot like you. If it's going to break, we're going to find out.
Yeah, you're going to find out.
You're going to find out.
But he went out there and he brought it in here the other day. I guess there was some tune-in or something that y'all had to do with it, you know. So he brought it there. You did whatever you did. You brought it back here and dropped it off. Well, I started taking pictures of it. I go, I didn't have to sign nothing saying I'm not going to show no Power Pole. I'm here for the people, and I must have taken 3 or 4 pictures, and I was headed to social media.
Hey, look, I can't talk a lot.
But it's a nice.
I can't talk a lot about it, but I'm gonna tell you, this thing has been years in the making. I can see the headlights coming over the mountain. I mean, for all you guys out there that's heard about it, it's coming. It's getting super close. You want to talk about power with a troll motor?
Unreal.
There's nothing ever been made with this much power.
Oh, I know it.
You want to talk about quietness? Nothing's ever been made this quiet.
And it's like detuned, isn't it? Where it's really not maximum power.
Yeah, we're gonna have to detune the 36.
Yeah.
A lot for safety features, I do believe.
It'll set you back.
Hey, but the biggest attribute to that troll motor is battery efficiency.
Right.
compared to anything that's ever been on the market. Way better. Nobody's even close to what we can do with putting out 36 volts of power.
Right.
Way over, I'll go as far as to say way over 130 pounds.
Yeah, which
of
nobody's
thrust.
even close to.
And only using 65% compared to other motors in the market of that usable battery power.
I'll tell you something. I was talking to John about it, and every time I talk to one of you guys, whether it's, you know, somebody coming, Brandon coming in or whoever coming in, I always try to get some info, you know, poke them and figure out what it is.
Yeah, you do.
Try to get that edge. But I can tell you, I talked to John, and we were talking about doing work on them if something happened, you know, once they get into production and that kind of stuff. And, you know, of course, now we're definitely a part of Power Pole and your warranty, and we definitely plan on being that. But what amazed me is how he told me how simple any kind of repair is going to be. It's almost going to be set up for the customer to be able to do the repair.
He had a lot of that in mind building this motor. You know, we've probably got the best customer service of anybody in the marine industry.
For sure.
We understand that.
Except us.
We except yeah, but you're part of us, man.
Yeah, I know. Y'all are great people.
You know, they don't know what it's like to break down. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you might not have an issue. Everything has issues.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But what I'm going to tell you is that within a matter of a couple of days, you get that part back in hand, and it's pretty much like John said, you can fix it yourself. And that's the way he designed all those components in that motor, and quick.
Yep.
So there won't be no more 6 or 8 weeks
send it off
out,
UPS.
sending it off, trying to find somebody that's going to fix it or send it back. That's probably going to be the biggest key selling feature of that product, along with once you use it. You know, you can remember 20 years ago when we talked about Power Pole. Who in the hell's going to buy that?
Right.
It's just
hanging off the back of the boat, going to get in the way.
Who's going to do that? But until you get one and you fish in front of one, you never understood what it done for your fishing.
Absolutely.
When you can say, hey, I got to stop here. Instead of floating through catching 3, I'm going to stop here and catch every one of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's, you're exactly right about that. I remember, and I've talked about this before, I think I talked about it last time, John came in here quite a bit in the beginning of when he was trying to design that Power Pole. Right off the rip, he was using a Bennett trim tab pump.
Absolutely.
And that's where it all started. And then, of course, he's really taken it, you know, way up from that point. But him and Tom were out front, and I thought it was like 2 dogs breeding. I was going to have to hit them with a – I even told them that. I said, hey, y'all don't break it up. I'm going to hit you with a water hose. Well, they asked me, you know, you think back in life of some of the stupidest stuff you've ever said, right? And this ranks with the top. They said, hey, Mike, we want to ask you something. What do you think about this Power Pole? And I go, you really want to know? And they go, yeah, tell us what you think. I said, there ain't nobody going to buy that. It's sticking off the back of the boat. It's going to get in the way. Nobody wants that. I said, everything is flush. If you remember, flush cleats were just coming out, Acon, and the bow lights, and everything had to be like a fly fishing boat.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just as flat as could be. And I said, there is no way nobody's going to buy that. And I turned around and walked in. Well, how stupid was I to even think that? Went with Marquette, like you said, 25 times that day, dropped that Power Pole. And that's when I thought to myself, wow, that's the ticket.
And take it back about that same period when, and Greg and I and John were all working together, playing together. And when it finally came out, John says, Greg, you want one of these? Oh, hell yeah, I do. And he looks at me and he goes, Brian, you want one? I said, nope, I don't, Anchor.
Don't need that crap.
Oh,
How stupid was that?
And I'll never forget, I was just up there last weekend in Jacksonville, sitting at that boat ramp. That was the first place Greg and I took that little Maverick he had with that Power Pole on it. And we went up one of those creeks, and you know the tides are up there. They're flushing real good. He says, look, we're going to try this right here in this oyster mound. And I mean, water ripping around those corners. And he stuck that thing down there, and that boat just. And I looked around a minute, and he says, "What's wrong?" I said, "I probably made the biggest mistake of my life." He said, "What's that?" I said, "Not getting one of them power poles." I said, "Hold on just a minute." And I got the cell phone. I called John. I said, "Yeah, you got to make me one of these."
Yeah.
You know, so being in it, fishing in front of it, yeah, it's crazy. And even today, who would have thought after 21 years, hell, we can't hardly build them fast enough.
Well, and I'll tell you something. You've had, which is more, to me, it's a compliment when somebody starts, copying you.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you something. You don't want to hear what my installer said. We had a guy buy some of the competitors and brought them in here, and I kind of pulled him to the side and said, "Hey, man, tell me what you think the difference." Because it about looks like it. He said, "Nightmare. Terrible. The pump's bigger. Can't get everything to fit right." You know what I mean? It's
oh yeah, I've played with them.
But that's a compliment to y'all when
Yeah.
somebody comes after it. And you know what? John's not worried about that. He's working on trolling motors. The charge system has come out.
But that charge is
Unreal.
Unreal. It's just totally. When you think about a charge system, if I try to sell you a charge, you're gonna go, "Well, hell, I got a charger." Do you have one that really charges on the fly without buying the
No.
adapters to go with it?
The alternator or the
Okay.
stator doesn't do that.
Do you have one that's got a jump box built in it? What do you mean jump box? Well, everybody. Back when you and I fished those tournaments forever, man, you couldn't be shut down out there. It's 2 o'clock,
dude.
weigh-ins at 3, and you're 30 minutes from the boat ramp, and you've had the live wells running all day, you've had troll motor, you've had units.
Ain't a good feeling.
No. You can get on your app, or you can walk back to that box, press that
crazy.
orange box, and in about 3 minutes, you crank up and come on to the house. So, you get a lot of things when you buy product that's built by fishermen for fishermen, and it's kind of like your store here. We were talking earlier about your tackle selection. I remember the days when you couldn't hardly make a decision because there was so much in there. But,
Right.
I mean, you're talking about grouping this down for the west coast of Florida, having the best of the best.
Right here.
If you want tackle for this region, this is the store.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about you want the best products for anglers, built by anglers, you start looking at JM. So
I agree.
sorry, it's like your store. Yeah, we'll sell you something, but we ain't gonna sell you no damn gimmick. We're gonna sell you what works.
That's right.
Like it or not. That's just the bottom line, and that's the way we see it over there too.
Sure. The best thing about power poles, since I've dealt with them, there hasn't been a continuous problem with anything.
No.
When something breaks or something doesn't work right, they're back to engineering. There's a
right.
new part or piece coming out that's going to take care of that. And
Absolutely.
It's great to have you right here in Tampa is
Yeah.
the best part. And even for the people out there that buy a power pole doesn't tell you have to go to the dealers. They kind of want you to come there, but their lines are open. Their phone lines are open, customer service.
Well, come to think of it, you were our first original power pole dealer, if I'm not mistaken. Years ago.
It had to be one of them.
Had to be one, if not the very first, because John had enough common sense and he had enough knowledge behind y'all and good being that y'all could make it work. If we had a dealer somewhere, it was going to be T.A. Mahoney, and I think that was the whole premise behind that. But like I said, it's been 21 years ago. So.
Man, that's crazy how time flies like that. And it's funny because even back then, you think about it, you were tournament fishing.
Yeah.
You weren't doing what you're doing now.
No.
You had no idea. The thought never crossed your mind of working for Power Pole.
No.
It was tournaments, you and your brother. I guess y'all went to a prep school or something, didn't you, out there in Lakeland and got all them private ponds? And that's
Was that a prep school or just lucky living there?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but you caught a bunch of fish, and then you wanted to venture over here to salt water. What was that, 25 years ago, 30 years ago?
Hey, look, I can remember when redfish was a bycatch. You didn't even want to catch them.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They won't even talk about that now. Now they put redfish. It's like kingfish. Who wants to catch a kingfish? But when it's $100 grand, everybody wants to catch one.
That's
what
same
happened
way
with
with
redfish. I wouldn't even tell people, would you? We'd be out fishing all day, and if you said to me, Mike, what'd you catch? I'd say, I caught 3 or 4 nice snook. I wouldn't even tell you about the 2 redfish I let go.
Hey, but you remember we talked about this on the last show, the old Bob Nees days, the SFFA days.
Flim Flam. That was true flim flam.
And that's C.A. Richardson and I met out there because we were fly fishing. It was always the snook first.
Yeah. Big prize.
Then you went for the speckled trout because he kind of got tough.
Well, here in Tampa Bay, it sure did 20 years ago.
But you knew that redfish was a bycatch, and you necessarily didn't. I didn't target those.
Right.
I just knew in the midst of trying to catch those 2, I was probably going to catch a redfish.
Oh, yeah. It seemed like
then they came out with that redfish tournament, but hell, it could have been Nile perch. Somebody like me and you, if we liked it, we'd learn how to caught them.
Well, and that's what you know, all that stuff. It's like I don't want to say it's gambling, but it is gambling. You're putting your money in trying to win money more than you put in.
That's right.
I know y'all did a lot better at it than I did. I was thinking about it. I couldn't.
Yeah, but there was 2 of us working.
Yeah, but still, y'all were a team to beat. I can tell you, and I've said this more than once on the radio. Very few times did my boat come ahead of them. Very few. But there was.
But boy, when you did, you let us know.
It was a win. I'm telling you, when you got ahead. It didn't
Hey,
matter.
we even got a sponsorship from T.A. Mahoney for several years, which I always joke about it. But, I mean, it was a couple boxes of hooks and some jig heads and
we could do.
All the free cookies you wanted to eat.
Yeah.
I say that on all them posts you got. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's what we told you. All the ones. And you were probably the first ones that we ever sponsored because, you know, old school, you didn't.
That's right.
You sponsor yourself. I looked at you and was like, what do you mean?
Hell, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. And but at the time, we did see the good. We were also a sponsor of Chris Lane.
Yeah.
When he first started, you couldn't see my name. It was about like
hey,
that.
did Chris put your?
He put it on the tag on his shirt.
Hey, did he take your business card and vinyl it and put it on a piece of plexiglass like me and Greg did?
No.
So you could take it on and off if you want.
He
didn't do it.
Yeah, it depends on when they were there. That was a good one. Well, Brian, I sure appreciate you coming out. We got 2 segments. We're going to wrap this one up, and then we're going to talk a little bit of fishing.
I'm sure the next one's going to be full of.
It's going to be fun.
Something.
We'll be right back. We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side. I got Brian Watts today telling stories. We've been talking power pole. Now I want to talk fishing. So what have you been doing?
What do you want to learn?
I want to learn about something I don't know nothing about, and you would know more than me, which would probably be nothing.
Hey, can you say
nothing?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, getting you to teach me. What have you been catching? I saw a big bass. You
just
on the
big
bass?
Yeah, just big bass, bro.
You still like private ponds and going to the zoo?
Nope, try to go to all them public places. They're pretty easy out there.
What would you say the best target lake would be? This area. Where would you head?
Polk County.
Because you got permission to get in them
No,
private
you can
pits?
you can
Where
go.
would you go?
No. Some of those pools I go to, I got a buddy that's got a pretty good pool down there that gets pretty good at times.
Where would you say a good place would be to start the spring off? Public ramp.
I'm going to tell you, Winter Haven chain over there has been really smoking. Been really good. And I'll tell you, Greg lives down on Lake Reedy, which is in Frostproof. And I'm going to tell you what, it's been taking 23, 24 pounds.
Wow.
And Lake Arbuckle, which is just down below Lake Reedy.
Yep.
But it's down next to the Avon Park Bombing Range, and it's the prettiest natural lake in Florida, I do believe. Hell, it took 25 pounds the other day to win that tournament.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
10th place was probably 24.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, it probably wasn't that. But, you know, there's a lot of great fishing, and it's this time of year. It's right now.
Is that your favorite bass fishing? If you had one type of fishing to do, would it be bass?
I'm gonna tell you my favorite, and I can't do it no more. That's fly fishing for tarpon. That's probably was my favorite way back then. I had a couple of good friends. Well, basically just one that we would go fly fishing only for tarpon, and to see those laid up fish and catch them is just a
What's
that's a
the
feat.
deal? I mean, I fished all my life, and one thing.
Well, you don't like tarpons just because you don't eat them.
Well, but I'm saying
But-
the fly. What is it with the fly?
It's not all about the catch. It's all about the catch once you do it. It ain't about the numbers. But if you've never thrown anything little and watch a 40-inch snook come up and eat it, or a 130, 40-pound tarpon come up and eat it, you probably just don't get it. But it's kind of like you out there with all them wahoos and groupers and snappers.
I mean, that's hard to beat, but
Yeah.
I guess you're throwing something small out there. There was a time I was in the islands, and I had this mate on the boat. There was tarpon underneath the boat, and they were hitting glass minnows.
Yep.
And he said, I bet I can catch one on a rubber band. And I looked at him and said, bro, I've been fishing all my life. You need to go tell that to one of the tourists. And he goes, no, I'm telling you, I hooked one on a rubber band. I said, well, I got a rubber band right in the boat. So I jumped in the boat, and he goes, just cut me a little piece of it, about an inch long. And he put the hook right in the center of it. And he dropped that little piece of rubber band right in that light. We had lights underneath the boat, and the tarpon were swimming. Definitely tarpon come up, grabbed it. He was on. I've never seen it caught on a rubber band.
Yeah.
It's like catching a triple tail in a 5-gallon bucket. Most people hadn't heard of that.
I've heard
either.
that story.
But I do it. It happens.
But here since the red fishing went away, I've kind of went back to what Greg and I used to do younger, and that's bass fish. And I don't know that it's I get to knock the edge off, and I do it easy.
And it's easy on
It's
the
easy.
boat. It's easy on the gear. It's easy on you.
I still go out there and play with different lures. I watch different things. It's just as challenging as anything else.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the point of I don't have that big boat to clean up, when I'm done.
I thought y'all had people that cleaned your boat.
that
you didn't?
was years ago.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, you remember that, don't
they
you?
fed you and stuff.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
brought your boat.
The
You're
guys
like,
that would drive the boats to those events while we just flew in.
You're like Murphy. You came in on the same jet as Murphy, didn't you?
Almost like Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, same boat.
They'd launch 2-3 boats at one time. They'd be tied up. Your rods would be tied up with all your lures.
That's right.
You just stepped on.
Just get
like Peyton Manning.
get on it, nod your head, and take off.
I was thinking about you today, and I said, having Brian Watts on my podcast is better than Tom Brady. I mean, everybody thinks 5 rings, Tom Brady, 5 rings. This guy right here's got 30 rings. Angler of the year, team of the year. How many of them things?
See
have you
what I
won?
thought you couldn't find anybody to do it with you.
No.
You're already rolling the list over again. You know what I mean?
No, I get the tight group first. I know people like to hear from you, Brian.
Now,
You've been
Hey,
Big TV star.
The biggest thing that Greg and I had going for us was being twins. Hell, we thought alike. And you got 2 people in there thinking exactly alike.
no funny stories with the twins, like telling them.
Hell, I'm
Your
too old.
brother's name?
You know what? I can't. It's hard to think about that, but oh yeah, there's tons of stories out there. But
I know y'all used
Hard
to
to
come in
bring
my
'em back.
store. It was kind of hard. Your brother's a little bit softer than you are. You're a little mouthy. He's not. So all you got to do is talk to you for about 2 minutes.
But in our world, it was always I was the mean one, he was the nice one. It was that good cop, bad cop.
There you go. And I see
So
that.
it all depends on who we played that to where we needed to go.
Oh, I
with.
know it was a game.
You know what I mean?
And that's what I tried to tell people about fishing tournaments. And I want to talk to you
Hey,
about this.
is that something like a flim flam?
That's a flim
That's
flam.
flim
That's
flam.
exactly right. When you fish a tournament, do you read the rules?
Absolutely.
Okay, do you ever think about what's not written? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's like you can tip the pendulum. I was talking on the radio one day, and I fished a tournament. Boca Grande, invitation only, snook, trout, and reds. Well, there was nothing in the rules that said anything about fishing from a dock, fishing from your friend's house, fishing with a trout head. There was none of that. So I had a friend that's family's been on Boca Grande forever, and he gave me permission to go catch one of them big snook on his dock that he feeds every day with trout heads. There was nothing about somebody giving you bait. So when I got there was a bucket full of trout heads on ice. He wasn't there. I get out, I hook one on, I drop it down, we get a 38 incher. I call it in, take the picture, and release him. We've already got the snook.
And you don't think there was nothing wrong with that?
It wasn't in the rule. What do you think about that? Was that something wrong with that? It wasn't a rule against it. Do you look at stuff like that?
Yeah. How good do you sleep at night?
So you do look at stuff like that. So there are times that you pick that gray area to fish. If it's legal,
nope. You said
it's legal.
You said, did I ever think of that? Sure, I did.
You never did.
Did I ever implement it? Hell no.
If it wasn't,
you're talking about ethics now.
You're telling me.
Hey, you're talking about.
You're telling me.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm gonna give you
this guy's good.
I'm gonna give you the perfect
Mr.
scenario.
Honest here. Go ahead.
Hey. Mike, I'm fishing.
I didn't cheat.
Hey, to all you guys out there. Hey, Mike, I'm fishing a tournament. You know those fish were on your flat yesterday. I won't get there till about 7:45. Do you think you can chum those before I get there?
That's a rule. That's a rule. No chumming. I didn't break a rule. Terrible example.
Okay.
Terrible.
But you're talking about a bucket full of
Said
trout
nothing
heads.
about bait. Said nothing about can't use trout head, can't use bait.
How explicit is it for your buddy to have everything you need to catch his pet snook?
Well, they ain't pets. They ain't got a fence. They can swim wherever they want. They just happen to stay there. No rule broken.
Hey, did you win the tournament?
No.
Well, see, it don't count then, does it?
No. I mean, I never win. That's why I quit fishing tournaments. You're one of you and Jeff Page and
hey, look,
all the good guys are the reason why I don't fish no more. I was tired of getting beat.
There's a lot of red line out there. Have I ever?
I know you have. If it ain't against the rules, you can do it. You ain't breaking a rule.
That's exactly right.
Has nothing to do with ethics. Has to do with being able to read that rule sheet and know the areas they didn't cover. Now, I can tell you this. I fished tournaments before and done stuff, and the next year they had a rule against what I did.
The Mahoney rule.
The Mahoney rule. Yeah, that's Casey Kane gave me the Mahoney rule. That's right. You've heard of that. The Mahoney rule. Can't fish out of the Tampa Aquarium. I sneak in there at night.
Like, hey, I don't know if I said this last time. That's like Greg and I went in the inaugural Herman Lucerne down in the Keys. That's against all those Keys guides. 7 species. Black bass, snook, trout, tarpon, bonefish, redfish, 7 of them. We won the first year. Came back the next year and we won it again the second year. And they made that rule that night. They called it the Watts rule. Nobody will ever win back to back again. And we look and we go, well, why? I mean, I ain't never paid my entry fee for a tournament I wasn't trying to win.
Right.
Because nobody wanted to come back and fish.
And you can discourage people.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with who Greg and I was. It had, hey, when you implement a plan and everything comes together, it works.
Well, and that's what happened to you. And I'll be honest with you, when I fish, it doesn't matter to me who's in it. It gives me more motivation. And of course, I go in expecting to catch the big fish and win and as hard as I can. But at the end of the day, it's fun, man. It's fun competition to get with your buddies.
Well, you and I never traveled 700 miles to say, well, I just hope I come in 4th. No, hell no.
You're there for the first one.
I'm trying to win it.
That was some good times. You know, back then, a lot of the stuff we did, like the condos we stayed in and all that stuff, you really don't get a chance to enjoy them. You're going to bed early, you're getting up early, you're out of there, you're fishing all day, you come back in, you really don't get to enjoy anything. So the little bit of time in the weigh-in line and the captain's meeting, when you're with people you know, that's about the best part of it.
And boy, it gets deep, don't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't even get to you. You got a whole entourage.
Well,
you used to travel with, what, 30 deep
that's
at least?
That's what you kept saying, but that wasn't the way it was.
No?
No, that wasn't the way it was.
Seemed like you had a bunch of guys pumping y'all with info. We just had our own little crew over there. You had a bunch of locals.
That info was a rule. You couldn't
that's right. I wouldn't say
you couldn't get that info.
Now,
that ain't like these bass tours going on now. You can't.
What happens if you fish the tournament in your buddy's boat and he leaves the GPS on for the trails that he had yesterday.
There's been a lot of that, believe it or not.
Oh, I guarantee it, man. And we could probably name some names that'd be mad at us, but they got to go to bed at night.
They might not be mad after 10 or 12 years, you think?
Yeah, there's been some fun ones. I don't want to name none. I don't want to do that for sure. So what do you think about the closure? You think they're ready to open yet?
I don't keep up with it too much, but
We ain't eating snook, trout, and reds in Tampa Bay.
I don't know that. And look, nobody has to agree with me, and I really don't care. I don't know that I've saw them do too much that I agreed upon. But I don't play out there in that game either. But there's so many fish out there right now. And I don't know what would be the right rule. But there's so many snooks out there and trouts. And, the redfish, people want to talk about, well, there ain't no redfish out here no more. Well, hell, redfish are so seasonal.
Yeah, and they move.
Yeah, they move. The snooks move too, but we know those migratory patterns, but we also kind of know those redfish patterns. And if people don't think places like those little Bahia reefs, in 18 foot of water is just littered with thousands of redfish and snooks.
Guaranteed.
Hey,
I've seen
them
videos.
fish know how to get the hell away from a lot of people.
Right.
So there's a lot of things out there that discourage me from going out, and my son still loves going out there, but every time he goes, it's like, Dad, I really ain't kept up with it, and I can Google it, but I mean, what's what? And I'm like, well, hell, you can't do anything. You haven't been able to do anything for years. But why can't you go out and why don't they open this up to let you keep
something? Yes, I agree.
Or something this simple, in my opinion. Why is mangrove snapper 5? I mean,
and you're catching them.
I can be educated differently, trust me. Right. But why isn't it 10 per man? At least I can catch 10 of those 12 or 13 inchers, and I can go home and I can feed a family of 5.
Sure. Now you keep 10 offshore.
Oh, you can keep them off 9 miles?
Yeah, federal waters, the limit's
aggregates
10 on mangoes, but you better not stop in state waters and continue fishing with a federal limit. You got to be rolling.
Right. But for the people that love to fish the bay, how come you can't catch 10? And how come you can't come in and keep 2 or 3 speckled trout? You're more up on the snook populations and the regs and rules, and I'm not, but and we all know why they have closures. There's so many people out there that keep everything they catch anyway. Sure. Now.
And they're still doing it.
I can turn around and throw the thought of, where's our tax dollars? How come we're not hiring more game wardens out there? How come we're not hiring more marine patrols? How come we don't see those guys out there on a regular basis that would stop a lot of people from going out there and keeping these 18 and nothing eats better than 18 or 20 inch snook, trust me. I mean, I know from years ago. So
how long ago?
Yeah, several years ago. Hey, but you get caught with them, it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
But something needs to be open where these guys can keep a couple of snook, or at least one snook and one redfish.
Well, and what a lot of people don't think about is when we shut down those for a couple of years and they're repopulating and we've got a ton of them. Those other fish like mango snapper, like triple tail, like cobia. Cobia, they come in the bay thick. Summer months, they're breeding, they're on them, or spawning, they're on the buoys.
Everywhere, yeah.
That's when people catch them and they're wide open, so you got more people targeting that fish, then you're going to have a problem with that.
Right.
From what I understand, and I've always seen it work, they shut the snook down when they go to the beach and spawn, right? It's the best time. Let them have those babies, right?
I think so.
Why not do it with cobia? Why not do it with something else and open those fish up? Give us something to keep. I go up to the Chaz. We were just up there, caught a ton of trout. They got a law up there that you're allowed one 20-incher or over per boat, not per person. So you catch a 21, there's no reason to let him go. You're eating fish, so you put him in there, and then we release, 3 of them that are over 24. So lots of fish up there, lots of fish all up and down this area. It's springtime. There's not a better time to fish.
Well, like I said, I can be educated differently. Sometimes it just don't make common sense with me being an angler or putting the money I put into our system to be able to go out there
and then not keep nothing.
and not be able to, and you're out there wondering, and hell, I love those pink mouth grunts. So, they eat good, but I guess you could target something like that, but maybe I don't want to take my kids out there. Maybe I'm an older couple, old now,
Right.
but maybe I don't want to take my grandkids out there in 18, 20, 25 foot of water. Maybe I want to get up there in the shallows and catch speckled trout or a few
Right.
mangrove snappers on the rocks
which is awesome around
yeah.
here. And then they're looking at you going, it's their biggest fish they've ever caught, and they want to know why they can't keep
Exactly.
it. They can't show it off, and that's part of it. Hopefully all that stuff's changing soon. It seems like the fishery.
Hey, so that was my opinion. What's yours?
On the fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep something. Sometimes I tend to just say my opinion without thinking. I love big snook. I'd love to eat a big snook right now. I wouldn't have a problem snatching one out of the water. Everybody wants to call it a she. I think it's a he. Okay, so him. I'd love to have a 45-inch snook, stuff it with stone crab meat, and bake it. But if it's going to hurt the fishery, it's not something I really want to do. Mm-hmm. They've proven that that's your big breeder, so let it breed, but got to give us something. I think snook right now could open up. I think some of the problem is that you see a lot of guides that say, no, they don't want it because all they're thinking about is them. And this is an industry.
Yeah.
You're a manufacturer, I'm a retailer, he's a guide, and he's the shipyard. We're all in this together. If there's not a healthy group in all of us, it's not going to be good for all of us. So
That's right.
I don't look at what I want, and if you can't catch fish, that's because you're not looking. There's a lot of people that don't work for it. You know that. How many? Mm-hmm. You got to start working the minute, especially that inshore artificial. You'll work harder than anything.
Anybody.
I mean, you're wore out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. People are so used to taking live bait, throwing them in that hole, catching all their fish, getting paid, taking them home. That's why I only fish with a handful. The guys I fish with, Brett Norris, I went out on the worst day of the year, fog and cold and wind and the day of the front and all this kind of crap. We caught fish and had a great time. He wasn't scared to run the boat. I think the only thing that brought him home was his wife saying, come home and drop Mahoney off. That's what I could hear her on the phone.
She might have been feeling sorry for him.
Yo, I know
Yeah.
she was, being with him all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like Brett said, I pick him apart, but it's just trying to make him better. It's like Marquette. Everybody used to think he yelled at you. Well, he really wanted you to listen and to catch that fish.
Dave Marquette, above anybody out there, is probably, and I'm not going to get the word right for this, probably the most emotional guide this West Coast has ever seen, because sure you were paying him and sure you was on his boat. Marquette's concerned about doing his job.
That's
and
right.
You need to listen.
Yeah.
You're paying him to come catch that tarpon or catch that snook.
Right.
Listen to me.
And I'll tell you what.
And that's the thing about Dave.
I listen, and I've caught plenty of fish with that guy. Great fisherman, a great friend. We've had him on here.
Absolutely.
He's due up again here shortly.
Yep.
When you talk about flipping over the list, you do know we've done 30 of these. So.
No, have you really?
Oh, yeah. I run them deep. And you know what? John from Power Pole, we'll have him on. Bob from Bob's Machine, I've talked to him, the one that invented that jack plate. He's going to be here. And, of course, we'll have Jerry Williams again. But it's always good having Brian Watts. I appreciate you coming out.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
Telling stories, and we need to get out there and go fishing. I know it looks tough this spring, a lot of work going on, but let's take a day.
Hey, we're going to do it. we'll go get Horn and we'll let him take us out there and we'll rumble in the bay, son.
There you go. Bring Del Valley with you and let him do the counting.
You know, Del Valley would be a good. Hey, we'll get him one of those fish clickers.
Boy,
Hey, one in each hand for me and you.
You need to tell him he's coming on this show. He's been around Tampa a long time, been in that shipyard.
He probably won't do it without one of those Tales of the Dark Side
That's
shirts.
all it takes. Del Valley, you can get anything you want out of him for a free T-shirt, I promise you. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Brian, thanks, buddy,
coming
out, and we'll see you next time.